Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Mindful Movement. I'm Tyler. I'm here with Johnny. We have a really special guest today. I don't personally know him, but Johnny does. Johnny's only spoke well about this guy. Supposedly he has a really powerful story, and he's been through some shit. So we're really excited, to introduce Baltimore John.
Yeah. What's up, John?
Thanks for having me,
brother. Yeah, thanks for coming.
To be here.
Absolutely.
I'll give you a little background as to how this all started or whatever. And I don't even know if you remember. You probably do. But first time I met John was I was in treatment.
Okay.
I was he came to do an H&I, and I was at sitting out back on the porch. It was like the men's house. And listen, the last thing I want to do is listen to anybody speak.
Of course,
you know what I mean? Or listen to a message. I didn't know what a message was if it hit me in the fucking mouth, which he did. He hit me in the mouth with his message. And do you remember that at all? Yeah. Cynthia was a tech, and she brought you. She knew you from the rooms, and brought him, and it kind of got my ears perked up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And again, I went on to run for quite a few more years, but it's one of those seeds. When the seeds, we try and plant seeds, I think, and he planted a big seed, to the point where here I am, over 5 years, but when I try and bring a message, a lot of it is still it's planted in those seeds that you planted a long time ago.
That's awesome.
I ran into him a couple years later when I was living at Incentives at Steve K's house, and I was like, no way. I remember you were sitting against the wall there, bro, at the Lions Club, and he I don't think I even noticed him until he shared, and you'll hear he's got some oomph behind his words, and I was like, no way, that's that dude, and I think I went up to you, and I was like, I was living in a sober house, and I asked him to sponsor me, and he's like, probably, you could tell. I probably wasn't ready then either, and I definitely wasn't. And what was the book you told me to buy?
As a Man Thinketh.
As a Man Thinketh.
Yeah.
So he said, if you don't have money, go to the library.
Right.
And this is the and I was thinking about this when I asked you to come on, right? This is the insidiousness of this disease, right? I went to the fucking library and bought and rented that book.
Yeah.
Like I went that far.
Yeah.
I got high that day. I remember having that book, and I don't know, I may have told you this because I've tried to reach out to him, bro, like, since I've been sober, clean, and I hope that we do build a relationship off of this specifically.
Absolutely.
But bro, I went and I was in back of the Lions Club the next week probably, and I had that book. It was like a yellow book. It was sitting in my center console of my dad's car because my car was rented out for dope. Yeah. It was sitting there, and I remember smoking crack behind the fucking Lions Club of the NA meeting with that book, sitting right there staring at that book and knowing I'm about to go into this meeting and see this dude. And it blows my mind, right? It does, but it doesn't. Like now I kind of understand. And I think that's the last time I actually saw you. Yeah. Because obviously after that night I never went back to the sober house, and the rest is history. But man, I'm glad you're here. Like I hit
I'm
you
excited.
up. I hit him up yesterday,
me
dude.
too.
And again, we haven't seen each other in forever, bro. We saw each other once at a barbershop, and he's like, I'm like, can you do a pod this week or something? He's like, either one.
Yeah, tomorrow.
It's fucking dope.
Well, that's what's really cool, man. Is like here you are, getting high and like at this low point in your life where nobody could literally say anything to you, right? Like you just said. And then here's this random guy that you meet in a room who plants this tiny little seed. Yeah. And then here you are all these years later calling that guy who planted that first seed, and he shows up in 24 hours. Like that's what recovery is, like 1,000%. We show up for each other, like no matter what. Like if I don't have something going on, you need me, I'm coming, like that's why we have what we have, and we talked about it on the last one, like that sense of community, like how important that sense of community really is, right? Because if we didn't have community, you would have never met him, right? He wouldn't be on our podcast. I would have never met him. And, he might say something today that's going to save my life,
Yeah.
in 5-10 years, you never know. And that's what I really like about, like talking to people that I've never met before, that have a background like you do, like that intense, powerful story. Because it does, like it helps us too, just because we're sober doesn't mean that we don't still need that guidance, and that like little bits of attention and stuff. So I'm really excited about this. Yeah. I really am.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the one thing that I'll say that has kept me around as long as I've been around is like just remaining teachable. Yeah, I don't think that I know everything I don't want to be the guy that thinks he knows everything. You know, a lot of the stuff still makes sense today. Like going to meetings still makes sense. Sponsoring other men still makes sense. Like being a sponsor, like having accountability in my life, because it's not just like being, you know, the recovery aspect, but like accountability in my personal life.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, a meeting is just an hour a day. What are you doing the other 23? You know, whether or not you got relationships at home, a family, a kid, like what does all that look like? You know, like he was talking about the as a man thinketh, like when guys approach me and they ask me, you know, if I'll sponsor them, you know, I'm just very clear about like, look, do you want to sponsor or do you want to be sponsored? Because there's a difference. You know, like I have a full life, you know, I got 21 years, and that's not like bragging. That's just like, you know, you stay around here long enough, you know, you gain some things, you know, you build some things. And then once you get those things, like how do you consistently maintain them? You know, like there's different guys that I know that, you know, are either just coming in or coming back and they want to get everything. And I'm like, bro, don't worry about that.
Yeah, it comes.
Your issue is not whether or not you can get it. You know, look, we're go-getters by nature. You know, you're going to get it back. You get the house, the car, all that'll come back. But the question is do you know how to maintain that on a consistent basis? You know, it's not about being great out the gate. Anybody can be, what is it? You know, a clean person of the year, MVP, whatever the case is. But then, like, sometimes those kind of people flame out. You know, because they're riding so high on that emotional wave of getting all this stuff. And then once they get it, well, how do I manage the responsibility? So like that, as a man thinketh, like, you know, all my recovery and, you know, what I've learned in my short time in recovery is that it's all about your thinking. You know, the literature talks about it, you know, my whole life in thinking was centered in drugs in one form or another, you know, the getting and using or, you know, whatever that looks like. And so when your mindset is always in that, it's like, all right, well, now that I'm not using, what is the new mindset? You know, what is the new routine? What is the new, like, you know, I need to be accountable and to be shown and to be led, because, you know, I've also learned that good leaders are usually people who have served well, you know, because if you don't know how to serve others, how can you be a great leader? You know, like even in my home and with my child. Like, you know, the recovery does not just, you know, stop when I leave a meeting. Like when I go home and my 7-year-old is having a whole blow up moment and they want to she wants to shut down. Like, you know, I give her the look. I'm like, I love you. Are you done? And then usually it'll stop. And then I'm like, look, in this house, it's okay to have big feelings. We all have big feelings. But what we don't do is we don't create these big emotional outbursts because we want attention, because we don't like the way we feel. What we do is you can come to me at any time and tell me that you're having big feelings, even if you don't know what to call them. I didn't know what to call them when I first got clean. So I can only imagine a 7-year-old, you know, they just know that they didn't get that sweet treat they thought they deserved. And so now I'm going to show you how I feel. Fire, and, you know, have that conversation like, all right, well, why are you upset? Well, I thought that I should have got, you know, the sweet treat or whatever the case is. And it was like, you're absolutely right. You should have got it. But you waited until 8 o'clock. You know, bedtime's 8:30. So you made a choice to wait. It wasn't my responsibility to come find you to tell you that it was time to have this. Right. And like, you know, but creating those kind of conversations, even with the 7-year-old, somebody had to explain that. I remember coming to a meeting and, you know, I cuss like a sailor. It's just in my nature. You know, my family cusses like sailors. And so I remember someone saying, you know, like cussing isn't a sign of spiritual growth. And I'm like, who are you talking to? You know? Or like someone saying like, you know, you can't talk to me that way. And I'm like, I want to talk to you any kind of way I want. You know, I was 21 when I got clean. So I was full of ego, arrogance. Don't you know who I am? Don't you know where I run? Don't you know how I use all this nonsense, all this false personality, you know, idea of who I thought I was. And then I come to a meeting and then someone presents me with the truth. Like, it's not okay to act like that. Like I had normalized the behavior that you need when you're, you know, when you have these outdated survival skills. When you're living in this level of survival, that all it is the getting, finding ways and means. Like, you know, people talk about taking inventories. I mean, the inventory, you know, when I'm getting high is like, you know, how much money do I have? How much stuff do I have left to get high? all right, now that I'm out, who can I call that'll
Yeah.
either go half or give me a ride, or who's going to give me a ride that's not going to want half or whatever I'm going to cop? You know, just making this whole laundry list.
Yeah.
So now that, you know, we come to recovery, it's like now it's a new list. You know, what meeting am I going to hit? If I'm feeling some type of way, how many phone numbers do I have that I can call? You know, and finding men, you know, that have what you need and not what you want. Because it was real early on when I first got clean that I wanted to find someone who looked like me, act like me, and talk like me for the identification, and realize when I hang out with people that look like me, act like me, and talk like me at 21 with a hot like 2 days clean, you know, we tend to want to cause chaos.
Yeah.
And then can't figure out what I want to use when I'm in clubs with people that I shouldn't be in clubs with. And we're taking the straws out of our cups because we still want to look the part while we're out, and then go home and can't figure out why. I'm ready. It's like 2:00 in the morning. Everybody's in bed. I'm like, I'm ready to go. What do you mean we got to go to bed tonight?
Yeah.
You know? So to like be in a position, you know, you were talking about and meeting other men. One of the things I think about nowadays is when I wake up every day, how can I be useful today? You know, how can I be useful? Even my daughter, when she comes home from school every day, we talk about, did somebody help you today? And did you help somebody today?
That's cool.
You know, and just getting her into that routine of understanding and what to look for, that it's not about always how you feel or if somebody's done for you, but just being aware of that opportunity to be of service to somebody else. Because you just never know where anybody's at in the course of their day or life, or, you know, if that young child, whatever they have going on at home, maybe that little drawing that she does for them because she loves to draw, that, you know, that drawing might have just changed their whole day. You know, maybe they have a whole thing going on at home, and that drawing might have just, you know, changed the course of their whole day. And so, like I said, with the recovery thing, it just touches every area of our lives if we like let it to. Like, I come from a place of chaos and confusion. My father was abusive. And watching that kind of abuse take place, and then, you know, mom working all the time, there was nobody watching over us. And so when you're left to your own devices, and then you find other people that you think care about you and that you can trust, and you find out that really they're just using you. That these people, you know, ask you to go do things that are funny, and then you start to learn this other lifestyle. And then you can't even hear the voice of authority because now you think you are the authority. Like when the parent isn't around, and then you're out here waking your brother up and, you know, all the other stuff that goes along with it. And then, you know, mom comes home and you're like, yo, who are you talking to? You know, you're not even here, you know? And then you find yourself in positions that you don't want to be in as a direct result of the lifestyle. You know, there's nothing weirder than being held at gunpoint, you know, especially if like you're in the middle of the projects, and then next thing you know, you're like, all right, well, this is going to go one of two ways, you know? And then you get to a place of the whole time you think you're out there running game and doing all this stuff, and, you know, being pistol whipped, or, you know, walking into a hotel room of people that you love and care about. And they're looking at you, you're looking at them, and they're like, why are you doing this to us? And you're like, well, it's only going to go one of two ways, you know? And then the guilt, shame that, like, not in that moment, but later in life, like once the effect wears off, and then you're left with you, and then it all comes to the forefront, and then you're like.
Well, that was part of my problem.
Right.
Is that when I would come to, that guilt and shame was the first thing to fucking smack me in the mouth.
It's right at the top.
And it was like, you know, in my mind, it's like, well, I got no choice but to go use. You know, I gotta quell it. Like, I can't feel this.
Right.
And the only thing that ever worked for me was another bag or another, you know, whatever.
Absolutely.
And then it's just back into that same thing.
Yeah, and it gets so powerful, like, as the years go on, you know, and those, like, small relapses, and you get clean, and then you relapse, and, like, we don't think about it, like you said, at that time, that we're building this bomb. You know, we talked about it. We did our last episode was with Laura. She's very spiritual. She does breath work and stuff. And she was talking about like how you store things in your body, you know, like you don't let these things out. Right. And then when you go to let them out, you explode. Yeah. You know, but just those little, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it's a bomb where I remember those days, like, you know, I'm getting clean. 2-3 days go by and I'm like, yo, I'm the biggest piece of shit ever. I have to get high, because if I don't get high, I can't deal with this, you know?
Yeah, when you're going from using to live to living to use, where that just becomes the sole focus, like even against your will. I remember times where I'd be driving into the projects and I would have like tears in my eyes. Like this is not what I wanted, but like was so far gone that there was nothing that was going to stop me at this point. It said jump how high? Run as far as you want me to go. You know, wreck cars, the whole deal. Like, you know, you were talking about like the build up to where like I remember like the last day, like, you know, being out there running, had stole a car, was out using, came back and like couldn't smoke the feelings away. Like couldn't drown the emotion. Like I was in like so much pain at this point that the numbing wasn't working anymore.
And you just keep trying though.
Right.
So
We were
funny
just
story
talking about this.
Well,
Literally, we were just talking about this.
When I was I was still in the Marine Corps, and you know, so nobody knew what was going on, and I was just like holding on by a thread.
Right.
But my wife, I was lying to everybody. So the only way I could get money, I had a credit card. I remember like Bank of America Visa. I had like a 10 grand balance on it or limit. Yeah. And I remember like hating myself, bro. And so I put that in, I took it out, I got the cash back, whatever.
Right.
And I remember I broke the card in two. If I don't tell you that I the next day drove to every fucking ATM in the city of Beaufort to find the one ATM where I could stick it together, and it wasn't one that it took it in, it was one that you just had to flash it. And if I didn't go to that one for the next 3-4 months to get the you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
That same card.
But look, I'm breaking the card. Like I wanted so bad, and they talk about tears. I remember just like sitting there and like, but once you get to that point, like, and now I know why, right? It's there's an obsession involved. There's all this other things, and I am fucking just like hating everything about myself. Really, and that's one of the things. And you know, I got sober in AA, and I mostly go to NA meetings now. But like, it's like the doctor's opinion talks about the threefold disease and things, and it's like just that alone. And there's what's the part in the NA book where it talks about
it talks about the obsession compulsion.
Yeah,
you know,
and that alone took so much guilt and shame away from me when I actually
it's
listened.
not a moral deficiency.
It's not. I'm not. And I'm not a piece of shit.
Right.
And that's what we did. I remember we took a clip of that. I'm not like I have a real problem. Like I have a disease.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that was like, and I probably read that chapter a million times, bro. Yeah. In all the treatment centers, all the H&I, all the things that come through, and the faking it till I make it with the sponsor, and like, read the doctor's opinion. But when I actually was read that and understood it, I was like, oh my God, okay.
But it goes back to changing the thinking, the perspective.
Yeah.
Like when people want to have the debate, is this a disease? Is it a personal choice? Well, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to pretend to be.
Right.
But what I will tell you is that most insurance companies, they don't want to pay to begin with. I don't know if you've ever had surgery and you get that bill and, you know, what they want to cover, what they don't want to cover. If it wasn't a disease, medical insurance won't pay for it.
Yeah. Right.
So, like, we can debate it all we want.
I never heard anybody say that.
But that's what it is.
Right.
You know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not one to debate it. But
No,
I'll tell you, insurance companies,
facts.
look, they barely want to pay when you're having surgeries or doctor visits or whatever the case is. So if this wasn't a real thing, but like you said, that moral, it's not a moral deficiency.
No.
You know, sure, it's easy to get caught up into the lifestyle as a result of the using.
Right.
And then the perspective shift. And then you get here and then you're being told that, well, no. Look, you've made bad choices. It doesn't make you a bad person. Oh, that's hard to take in.
Absolutely.
Because like when you're not using, you start thinking. And when I start thinking, I start to feel. And when I start to feel, I want to either unzip and run, or I want to create some kind of chaos so that I don't have to feel what it is that I'm thinking about.
I think too, then our family members too, they don't understand. And so, and people around us, and then, you know, my aunt who I've stole from, who doesn't understand this thing, I'm really just a bad person to her. You know what I mean? Like, and then that kind of perpetuates the whole thing. And it's like, and then I start believing it.
Correct.
You know? And so it's like everything on top. It's just, it's a perfect, not prescription, but like it's like a perfect storm
1,000%
of guilt and shame all rolled up into one.
It was the lies that we tell ourselves, you know, and then we get clean, sober, whatever the case is. And then it's like, all right, well, what do I do now? You know, what do I do now? And then having to change the mindset that, yeah, I made mistakes, and then having to realize that, like, it's not all going to change overnight. Like, I remember, like, when I first got clean and I couldn't afford halfway, moved back in with my parents, and I'm sitting there with a basic text reading, and now everybody in the house is like, oh, you think you're better than us.
Right.
Wow.
They think, oh, because now you're not using, you think you better than.
Right.
Like, my brother and that, they all made it clear, like, oh, okay.
Wow.
And then, like, the relationship, like, how it's splintered because now I'm not the same person I used to be. And what's interesting about that is that when I lived a life of chaos and confusion, that was normal. That was the expectation. Like, that was almost welcome. Like, that wasn't unnormal to come home and create chaos.
Yeah. Right.
But now to be somebody who's starting to that shift, you know, where I'm trying to live somewhat of a routine principled life where, like, I come home at a decent hour. You know, I can actually hold a job. Like, I don't want to be caught up in the nonsense. And now you're looked at like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
You know?
It's wild.
1,000%.
So wild. I ran into it like when I went back home after I got sober, like even with my friends, you know, like, you think you're better than us? Like, you know, what's wrong with you? What do you mean you're not going to have one beer? Like, you know, and just running into that. But I think that's why it is so important for like guys like us to spread the message. You know, that's why we have that fire in us, because we want people to understand, like, this is what we went through. This is what they're going through. And if you just look at it from this angle, things might be a little different.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's why it is so important to like service work. You know, we talked about service work. Like, it's so important to do that because these people don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what we go through, how we go through it. We're just junkies, man. You know, like, as a junkie, like, you know, and it's that stigma that we carry with us. But that's interesting. Like how you went home and they're like, what are you, like, just from sitting there reading, you know, you were almost like exiled, right?
1,000%.
Like from your family.
But then the interesting part is that I remember like going to meetings and talking about it and people being like, look, you might be the only basic text that someone ever reads. You know, who are you when nobody's looking? Like, when you go home, do you hug them like when you're at a meeting? And I was like, what? They were like, why don't you hug them and tell them that you love them? And I was like, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
I was like, I would never do that. And like, it's funny because like if we were all using together, I'd be like, hey, do you want to get higher? Do you want to drink? Or do you want this? No big deal. But then to hug somebody and tell you, you know, that you love them, like was so like out of the ordinary, so far-fetched. And like, you know, I remember my mom and my stepdad doing with them, and then my younger brother, and it was like awkward, and like with the stepbrothers were just like, you know, what are you doing? You know? But then when you practice that, and this goes back to the consistency part, like the house started to change. Like I didn't ask them to like stop using or drinking or any of that stuff. Like little by little, it just like died down. Yeah. You know? And sometimes I think that, you know, they told me a long time ago that the acronym for time is things I must earn. And I earn those things with time. And I didn't realize that the longer I stayed clean and practiced and was consistent, that over time, things around me would change without my permission. That I didn't always need to scream or wave a big stick and tell people you need to stop doing this or you need to do that. Yeah. But what I learned is that like, you don't always have to, it's not the loudest person in the room. Usually it's the one that's living by example, you know? And like trying to be that example and trying to live that. Cause I was just talking to somebody the other day that understanding and application are two different things, you know? Like I might have an understanding, but if I'm not living that in my everyday life, then it means absolutely nothing.
It's funny you say that because just as you're saying this, a lot of times, because being a veteran too, like I'm very loud online and, you know, all that with like, you know, like with the PTSD thing and like, you know, like being able to show that I'm able to show emotion now and things like that. Cause I think it's things that were just so absent in my thinking early on, you know? And sometimes I get to the point where I'm like, am I being too loud? Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. But I think now I'm at that point where I put the action in first, right? And I got the time. And now I'm like, I'm loud about my recovery, as I say, recover loudly, whatever fuck it is. Right. And, but now, so then sometimes I'm like, am I just like, am I putting too much out there? But then I'm like, well, I'm not if my actions are matching up.
Yeah.
So it motivates me to continue to just like go harder, do more. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Stay more involved and more into the middle of this thing, because I don't want to be like that and, you know, be too loud and then like someone sees me doing not the right thing. Like that to me would be just devastating.
Absolutely.
You know?
And sometimes it's all situational.
Yeah.
You know, like even the way I sponsor men differently because we all receive the information differently. There's some people that need an easier, softer conversation. And there's other guys where I'm super direct.
Yep.
Super direct. This is what it is. You either want it or you don't. What do you want to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Should have get off the pot. Yeah.
Right. You know, that's just the reality, because this is life and death still at the end of the day. You know, and it's, you know, you brought the PTSD thing, and I feel like that's such a minimized part in any recovery setting. Yeah. Because I know for me, for a long time, I didn't realize that PTSD wasn't just for veterans.
I know. Yeah.
You know, I thought it was, you know, I remember when my brother was stabbed to death, you know, and I remember like after that, like where I used to work, there was like, you'd have to go in the basement where the lockers were to get changed or whatever to put your stuff up. And I remember like after he was stabbed to death, like there was times where I'd be in the basement and like getting ready to come up the stairs where I worked and like thought like someone was and would run up the stairs.
Really?
Or other times where I'd be in the shower and then like would hear stuff and then would have that intense like fear, like, yo, are these people going to come after me? Because like at the time it was like not a small thing when he was stabbed to death, because, you know, they used that in like a RICO case for like a whole thing.
Wow.
And you know, at that time, but then even to take a step further, that sometimes I have the ability to disassociate how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
You know, as a direct result of like being around like traumatic situations, either in the house, being out in the streets, participating in the lifestyle. And then you find yourself in recovery and not understanding when these things are happening, where to the other person, they're like, are you okay?
Yep.
And you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah. Dude, it's like you say disassociate. I usually like detach, right? Like, and that's one of the, if you know, and again, I got I check all the boxes, with
right.
You know,
right.
You know, I'm 100% disabled because I'm so fucked. You know, they made, which I use as an excuse. I was just talking about this for a long time. Oh, you know why I'm doing this? Because I got PT. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get it, whatever. And what I did learn too is that like, my biggest thing with PTSD is like things that happen overseas or whatever, is I learned there, and it was survival, like you said, survival tactics, to detach from emotion. Right. If this guy's dying, I cannot feel bad that a human is dying. I need to keep going.
Right.
The mission takes precedent, and that's that's the way it is. That's what it is, you know. But when I came back, I didn't reattach, I guess if you say, right?
Correct.
And that's what happens. And I've learned in any traumatic situation, not just in Afghanistan, it happens on Seacrest and Boynton. It happens in Baltimore City, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I learned the most I've ever learned about PTSD and the way the brain is. And I tell this to veterans a lot, because a lot of these vets, they've been like coaxed into thinking they can only get better with other veterans, and they can only be in trauma groups with other veterans. And there's that part too, where, you know, everyone, you know, like someone, so I was in a PT or a trauma group, and there was a woman in there who had, was very abused, right? Her husband used to beat her ass, bro. And she was sharing, and, I was half listening, and she started sharing about the feeling she had when she would go home. Right. She'd be like, I'd be driving home, and I'd have to stop and throw up because my anxiety and I was so anxious, because I didn't know if I was coming into a household where this man was going to punch me in the face, tell me he loved me, try and fuck me, you know, like didn't know, and that unknowing to the point where she would try and start a fight with him, so at least she could control the narrative. Yeah. Wow. And literally, as this woman's sharing, I'm like, I don't. If you probably had a camera on me, my eyes were probably bulging out, because I started to, like, when I was in overseas, it was the same thing was going on in my brain. Right, there's a wall, for instance, and I used to sweep for IEDs. Right, and every time we come to this wall, we would take contact. And so what we would, and you're like, or not every time, but you didn't know, right? So every time you're like, oh, is it going to happen? And so to the point where we used to draw the enemy fire out. Right. Just to control the narrative. Same thing that this woman was doing. Yeah. Now, I could have heard that story a million times, back to perspective, right? For some reason, I was listening, and I was like, and it hit me. Yeah. Like, this trauma. Now, if I could sit in a PTSD group with a bunch of veterans and talk about shooting people and blowing up till I'm blue in the face and have no response whatsoever. So it actually was helpful to be in there with other people and understand that, like, we're all in the same boat.
1000%.
Trauma is trauma, man.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to, like you said, the thinking, the perspective. Like, I remember telling myself I had anger issues. I had anger issues. It wasn't that I had anger issues. I had an inability to even identify what I was even feeling. And as a direct, indirect result, like, I didn't know how to process that in a healthy manner. It just came out reactionary. And I had to learn how to go from, like, being reactionary to, like, how to respond.
Yeah.
And not even knowing what the difference was, because I was so used to being so reactive, and then telling myself, well, you got anger issues. Or people be like, why did you, I got anger issues.
Because that's okay. You're a man.
Answer for it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a woman. Oh, they cry. You're gonna cry. A man, you get angry. Like it's more accepted, I think.
Right. And the thing is the anger is just one letter short of danger.
Yeah.
You know, because like, look, when you're in those kind of situations, and like when I'm angry, like, look, the adrenaline kicks up, and then I might say and do things that I normally wouldn't do, and the disassociation kicks in, and I don't even feel, and I'm watching the person in front of me like crying. Tears, fear, the whole thing. And then I can't, like, I'm so caught up that I can't even stop once I've started. But then once, we talk, like, when you come down off of that guilt, the shame, the embarrassment, because, like, look, you can't take that stuff back. So, like, in the process of, like, identifying, like, where is this coming from? But then once I identify where it's coming from, what am I willing to do, and who am I willing to talk about it with, so that when it's coming up, I can identify to see me coming before I'm harming people that I don't want to harm, but it's my inability to want to do the work to see me coming, so that I'm not putting you in situations that I don't want to feel guilty and embarrassed about later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I was just in a Panera Bread yesterday, writing on the 6th step with 21 years, because it still makes sense.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh
yeah.
Like, I want to make sure that I'm not being divisive. And I would have never thought of myself as being divisive, but there are times where something might happen between me and somebody else, and then I won't even address it. I'll allow it to, like, happen, and then I'll hold it.
Yeah.
And then if I need something, I'll use it as, like, I don't want to say a gift of obligation, but it'll be like, hey, I need a hand with this. And then, they'll be like, oh, I'll be like, well, don't you remember that one time?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I don't want to be that way.
Right.
But still, 21 years later, I can still be that guy at any given day. It doesn't matter how long I've been clean.
Don't go away.
Right. My nature is still my nature. I'm just more aware of it.
Right.
It's just unfortunate that, like, I can have this conversation with you and something will come up and somebody will be like, well, I heard you say that you're divisive. Well, see, I said that because I'm aware of it, so that I'm not divisive.
Right, yeah.
So you to try to use that as, like, a dig against me, unfortunately, you're using that in the wrong context and wrong situation.
Right.
Because I'm so aware of it that, I'm going to limit that kind of situation before it even presents itself.
Yeah.
That's the gift of recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you make that conscious decision every single day in every aspect of your life to stay the way you are and not take that step back. Because a lot of people don't understand, too, like, you're so close. You have 21 years, you said?
Yeah.
All of us, bro. You're as far away from somebody that got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, that's what a lot of people don't understand is, like, we still carry these things inside of
1000%.
us. We just work on them, on a daily basis. Yeah. The people who don't work on them still get high.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, like, so you're still going to have a loss or end of a relationship. You're still going to have a loss of a job or whatever the case is. The gift of recovery allows it to not haunt you as long, and it usually doesn't hurt as bad.
Yeah.
The pain isn't as intense.
Yeah.
And plus, when you have a network of people and still going to meetings, like, I still try to go to places where there are, younger people that are just getting clean. Like, I think it's important that if you have over 10 years, there is a responsibility to other people.
Yeah.
To make myself available, like when I have a guy call and talking about, like, yo, I'm just coming back. And, I'm not going to be the one like, here we go again. It's like, yo, I'm glad you made it back. Welcome home.
I'm proud of you. Yeah.
Yo, because there's nothing I could say to them that they haven't already said to themselves 1,000 times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All I can do is just be a, you know, a loving guiding hand, if nothing else.
Yeah, I like that.
You know?
Mm-hmm. And really step up and like help these guys. Because like you said, you know, and I feel a lot of the times like you hear those people say old timer meetings, you know, and then you go to the meeting and everybody in the meeting has like over 10 years. Like, who are you guys helping right now?
Exactly.
You know, like branch out, you know, drive the extra 10 minutes to the newcomers meeting.
Right.
You know, because like for me, that was important when I first came into the rooms. Like some guys with some serious time told me what to do.
Right.
While all my boys were getting sponsors that had a year clean.
Yeah.
Some dude that just finished his steps. And it was told to me, like, if you didn't live recovery, how are you going to teach somebody else how to live it?
Right.
You know, like, yeah, you got sober, you got 6 months. Awesome. But like, I want to listen to the dude that got 10 years because he's lived the last 10 years of his life clean and sober. You know, I like that you go to those meetings that have, you know, kids that are younger in recovery because that's your job really, right? Like that's my job. That's your job is to spread the message and to help people that have, you know, a little bit of time.
Well, look, the best ability is availability.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're not available, who are you helping? Mm-hmm. You know, the availability is everything. And that's not just in recovery. That's in my personal life. Because I could show up physically, but am I there emotionally?
Right.
You know, how available I am emotionally to like, because, you know, if two people are talking, nobody's listening. Yep. Or you could be talking and I might have the intent of rebuttal. Like sometimes in my relationship, that'll happen. Mm-hmm. I'll hear, you know, the missus talking. And I'm coming up with the rebuttal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Right. Right.
Or just yes, right. Yeah, just doing enough to get by.
1,000%.
You know?
Yeah. Or sometimes just even have to ask, like, look, are you sharing with me because you want a rebuttal or you just need me to listen? Mm-hmm. You know, I've had to learn that too. Like even just in my personal relationships, if someone comes to me and they need to drop information on me, you know, I'll you know, hey, are you looking for a rebuttal or you just need someone to like dump this on?
You want feedback?
Right. You know, because that's fine.
Yeah.
Like I've learned how to be a good listener.
Yeah.
You know, I don't always feel the need to like speak after somebody else has spoken. You know, and that's a gift of just being around long enough.
Absolutely.
Is just being available with no uncertain terms. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not for me to figure out what somebody needs, but just be available, you know, regardless of if they just need a hug, an ear, you know, maybe they just need to sit with somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I know that for me. Like sometimes if I'm jammed up, I don't need you to say anything. I just need to not sit alone at that moment.
Yeah.
You know,
essence of presence. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to be present with people,
right.
You know, sometimes you don't. And we're so used to like back and forth conversation where we don't realize sometimes like this guy don't want you to speak.
Right.
He just wants you to listen.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where like the essence of presence, I've been carrying that like little, you know, short quote with me for a long time because it's so important.
Yeah.
And like at one time in my life, I needed somebody to just shut up and listen to me.
Absolutely.
You know, just let me dump on you. And then, you know, let me fully talk and then give me a little bit. Hey, listen, you know, maybe do this, maybe do that, little pointers. But in the beginning, that was so important. It was like somebody just listen. Like just listen to what I got to say because I ain't never said this before.
Right.
You know, I ain't never gave this to nobody before.
It's going to go one of two ways.
I don't want you to argue with me, you know? And I run into that with the missus too a lot, you know? Is like, do you want feedback? Like, or do you want me to just listen? Because a lot of the times we're so worried about giving that feedback that we don't listen. And then the conversation's supposed to go this way, you know?
1,000%.
Yeah, so you have to be conscious about it, especially helping people, man, you know?
I've been doing it with my wife because we just moved in, you know, back here a couple months ago. And so we had to get almost everything brand new, you know? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, all right, tell me when you need the credit card, you know what I'm saying? Or tell me what, you know, and we'll get it, you know? And she'll be like, what do you think of that? And I want to, like, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Like, I don't, like, you know, that's what I would want her to say. If I say, like, should I get this cold plunge or this cold, you know, like, I don't give a fuck. Be like, bet, you know what I mean? And then I go do it.
Right.
But that's not being a good partner, right? Like she wants me to be involved in the color of, like, for instance, last night we're sitting in bed and I be up, like, this is a, you know, like a relationship, and
team deal.
And like it's really been taught, you know, and I've been rude, and I'll be like, I don't care, and then I'll be like, stop, and then I have to go back and make an amends, right? And the thing is, then like she's not ready to hear it, you know, and I'm like, but I said sorry, like I mean it, and I do, you know, but it's like, be present, you know, like she wants to know the light brown or dark brown is important to her,
right?
You know, and those are the kind of things
to you too,
or at least act like
Yeah.
it.
Can we cut that part out?
Love that.
Yeah. But it is true, man. And it's such a blessing too. Cause like, you know, and you don't know a lot of what went on with me. Like you know, last time I saw you, like she divorced me since then. I did a lot. Did just evil shit to, you know, and hurt her bad. And we went 6.5 years divorced and got back together 2.5 years ago.
Right.
You know, and we're going to get remarried and all that, you know, and it's like that. Yeah, bro. And so it's like she, you know, like she just wants to know what comforter I like, you know. It's a no-brainer, but I don't think of it that way, right? Because I stay selfish a lot of times, and and I think I'm doing the right thing too by just saying whatever you want, get whatever you want. Which one's better? Yeah. Get that one.
Yeah, you think you're making her happy?
Yeah, like because
you pick.
It's work though, man. I'm not fucking
on a daily basis.
It's work, dude.
Especially in relationships. Especially after you get sober in relationships.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, actually giving a shit is what takes work.
Yeah. No, it absolutely. It seems so simple, but it's not. You know, it does take work.
Yeah, like we've even tried like reading the same book, like it not necessarily together, but at the same time.
Yep.
And then circling back to have conversations about it.
Yeah.
You know, or like, you know, we try to do things together. Like we see a lot of music shows, stuff like that, because it's real easy to get caught up into the routine of life.
Yeah.
And then you forget about the connection.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to go to a meeting, everybody's hugging and we're making these connections because everybody's sharing like these personal, vulnerable situations. Yeah. But then you go home, that's not a meeting, you know, and then having to learn how to still be vulnerable at home.
Yep.
And that it's okay to be vulnerable at home.
Yeah.
Because there are times, you know, especially in the man role that, you know, well, what's going on? And it's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
I just need to sit for a second. You know, instead of being like, you know, really I'm just jammed up and can't even tell you why I'm jammed up. I'm just feeling some type of way today.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is that I don't always have to, if I'm feeling some type of way, I don't need to justify it. Like where before I might wake up and just feel off that day and then want to start building a case as to why I'm feeling this way.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's because, you know, she used the last jar of spaghetti sauce. Didn't you know I was going to use that for chicken parm? I can't believe you used that for meat sauce. Yeah. You know, and just create this whole situation that's just so out of character, out of pocket. Yeah. And, you know, all I had to say was like, look, I'm just feeling some type of way today.
And when you're building that case, you're just perpetuating the negative, you know. So now you're not working on getting better. You're working on staying in the shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, because you don't want to create an environment that, you know, even in your relationship you become unapproachable. Yeah. You know, because like, look, if you're constantly, you know, I remember being in a situation in another relationship where, you know, I would complain that we weren't communicating. And it wasn't that we weren't communicating, is that she would say something and I'm so analytical that I would want to critique everything that she said. Yeah. And why would you want to communicate somebody that's constantly criticizing you after you, you know, say or share whatever it is that you share?
Yeah.
You know, and having to learn that, like, you know, sometimes like early, you know, we were talking about before, is when that person says something, just leave it there. Yeah. I don't need to comment or it's okay. Right. Okay. Yes, chef. Yes, chef.
Yeah.
You know?
It's hard to get to that place though, right?
Absolutely.
Like as humans, we just want to react. We want to say something. Right. So
or the facial expression.
Yeah, that's a hard one, man. That's the hard one.
I got picked off. I got picked off many times like that. Yeah. Always. Like, what was that? I'm like, shit.
Like, just say it. I can see it on your face.
Just say it. Yeah. Yeah, being able to control facial expressions in that heat of the moment, that's like a God-given gift. Like ninja skill, you know? They teach you that in like Taekwondo, bro. How to, you know? It's a hard thing to do is like keep your face the same.
I think, as I'm trying to think, like building a case, right, about the negative. That the program or whatever program you it really does make you build a case the opposite way. That gratitude, right? Man, because like again, I just bought a house. All these things like life beyond your wildest dreams, I far exceeded that.
Yeah.
I got 4.5 years ago. You know, getting a year was you know, not being dope sick was a life beyond my wildest dreams. And I'll get stuck in like my mortgage. I pay my mortgage, you know, and it's crazy because I just got in the entry. We all know what the interest rates are. You know what I mean? And so my mind is like, oh, I'm fucking, you know, and I'm like, that's crazy. But then I'm like, dude, like, you got the money? Like, this is a dream. Like, this is crazy. Like, you know, and that's what the awareness to like, hey, don't like build a case the other way and snap the fuck out of it, man, because life is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the beauty of this thing. And again, it's back to perspective, like you said, and what our perception is.
Yeah, it's like at night, more times at night when I pray before I go to bed. I couldn't tell you when it started, but like usually I pray a gratitude list.
Yeah.
I stopped praying for either things or things that go my way or for whatever. Instead, usually it's like, you know, something as simple as like, you know, thank you for the bed that I'm laying in that gives my body the rest it needs to be of service tomorrow. Thank you for the food that we eat that gives us bodies the nourishment. You know, thank you for the house that keeps us protected while we're sleeping. And, you know, I'll go into other stuff and people and to look after whatever, the loved ones. And somewhere along the way, I just realized that God already knows what the desires of my heart are, that I don't need to ask for them. Like, I just need to learn how to want what I have already. Because if I don't learn how to have what it is, you know, that I have already, it doesn't matter how much I get.
Right.
You know, because there's a difference between, you know, I realized that ambition without satisfaction was greed along the way. You know, I would always have these goals that I was constantly racing to achieve and then would get there and be like, all right, well, what's next? What's next? And never really appreciating the moment that I was in. And then even to take that a step further, like I started like booking in my calendar, if I was out somewhere and I was having what I would call like a perfect moment, like sometimes like it would just be sitting maybe on the beach, you know, and the weather or the whatever, it was just like a perfect moment. And I would just log it in the calendar. Or if we were just having a funny, silly night at the house with the family and it just happened to be one of those, like, you know, the little one was like, you know, super silly. We were having a good time. You know, we were all just like, the energy was just super vibey. You know, I book it in the calendar. Because then when those days come where I'm not feeling, you know, either appreciated or ungrateful or whatever else you want to put in that box, I can like look back and realize, oh, look at these perfect moments that I've had. You know, and relive those moments. Because like I said, it's real easy to get caught up into wanting to achieve all these things.
What's that term? What is the term you said? Achievement?
Ambition without satisfaction is greed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good.
It's
all good.
That's gas.
So gas.
Did you
We need to clip
teach?
that.
Did you teach me when I was listening to, not like you were talking to me about
Right.
honesty without compassion is hostility?
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
That was a line for a long time.
Buddy, I've been using that all over the country.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's a real thing.
It is so. Again, when you said that, put that other one together, I was like, I think I used that, and people were like, "Whoa!"
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's powerful.
I'm like, I regurgitate things that I hear. I didn't make that up, and that is so powerful, bro. And that's
because I used to be that guy where I would be so brutally honest with somebody, and that I didn't realize that I was hurting them. Like I wasn't helping them.
Yeah.
And had to learn how to like have some like real humility and you know.
I was gonna say it's ego. It's ego. Me telling you that I know. I'm not trying to help you.
No,
yeah, self-righteousness.
I just want everyone in the room to know that I know
right.
more than you, and you're wrong. You know, it's I love that term. I love that saying,
you know,
man.
humility is knowing what my place in the world is, and not needing to tell you where I think yours should be. Wow. You know, like I remember, like when I got divorced.
Yes.
Like when I got divorced, like I realized in that moment, the most loving thing I could do for the other person was to leave them alone. You know. Like, yo, they asked for it. It's okay. I don't have to fight. I don't have to scream. It doesn't mean that I didn't love them. It didn't mean that I didn't care for them. You know, but like, if that's what that person wants, and if this is the end, you know, can we both just be adults as we walk through this?
That's awesome.
You know? And like, sometimes, like, that's the most loving thing I can do for anybody.
Yeah.
Is if they're hurting or whatever has happened or transpired, like, sometimes the most loving thing I can do is I'll just let you be. You know, maybe you need time.
Yeah.
It's not for me to determine what that timeline is before we circle back to have a conversation. Sometimes those conversations never occur.
Right.
And like, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
You know?
it's not always us, right? They have their own shit, and like we can't tell them that they do, right? So they got to be ready to come up with it and say, all right, yeah, I had my shit too, and you guys kind of meet in the middle and have that adult conversation. Now I have a question. So you went through a divorce while you were sober.
Yeah.
Right? Can you
Yeah.
tell us like a little bit about that? Like how did you get through something like that? Because I mean, for a lot of people that are probably watching this, right?
Yeah.
Like those are the big things like we talked about,
1000%.
those big milestones that we have to get through, like a death in the family or divorce. You know? Just give us like a little bit about like how you went through that.
Absolutely. So like I'll never forget coming home. She asked for the divorce, and you know, looking
Were
back
you
at
caught
it,
off guard?
yes and no. Like we had like our issues, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But like I didn't expect when I came home, and then when she came home, that she was gonna like, you know, because she started, I forget exactly what she said, but I just looked at her and I was like, "Are you asking for a divorce right now?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, okay. And I didn't realize until later on, because like I remember being so hurt and didn't realize that I was so that I can be controlling. Like I like to be the one with the I guess the upper hand or power, or what, however you want to phrase that. Like I remember being so upset, like I can't believe you would do this to me, that I went and printed out the paperwork and came home the next day and laid it on the table. Like if this is what you want, here's the paperwork, you know. But like
Oh, okay.
thankfully both of us were in recovery. So, you know, after like a day or two, and I went to a friend's house, and I was sleeping on an air mattress with a duffel bag of clothes in his office, having to put it up every day. And was talking to him, and then when we talked, I asked her, I was like, "Look, you know, neither one of us have committed any deal breakers. The only thing I would ask is that you would that we don't need to get lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
that we could both be adults." And thankfully we were. We sat down, went to the courthouse, filled out all the paperwork together, split all the finances, you know, whatever we had to our names at that time, split it up. And then when we went our separate ways, I'll never forget like going to a meeting, being out front and watching this young couple they had a newborn child in a stroller walking by, and I'm just like crushed because we were you know, trying to have a kid during that time too. And this dude comes up, sits down, and he's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I don't know if you want to know."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Yeah, lay it on me." And I was like, "Bro, I'm getting divorced. I got to move out of this house. I don't have anywhere to go. I'm not sure what to do. I have all this stuff. I'm not sure what to do with it." He's like, "Well, I want to do something for you that I wish somebody could have done for me. I actually have a moving company." He's like, "I'll come pick all your stuff up and put it in storage, and when you're ready, you let me know and I'll bring it to you."
Get out of here.
And I was like, "Well, I don't think you understand. Like, I'm divorced. Like, I mean, I'm not really sure how long this is going to be." He's like, No, it's fine."
Wow.
And sure enough, and then right after that, and like, you know what, I was in so much pain that I remember praying at night. I said, "God, if you'll just take the obsession away so I can sleep at night, I'll deal with all the nonsense during the day." Like, please, like every day I would just pray, like, please just take the obsession away
Right.
at night so I can sleep.
Yeah.
Sure enough, every night I went home, when I closed my eyes, I slept.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, in the morning, it'd be like, as soon as I cracked my eyes, it'd be like, "Psst,
Yeah.
you awake?"
Mm-hmm.
Yo, we're all here waiting to have the conversation. You
Yeah.
know, that like all of it just right here waiting. And then while that's happening, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then somebody else reaches out. And they were like, "Hey, I heard that you're going through this situation." And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Well, we're getting ready to go out of the country for like 2-3 months, and we want to know if you'll watch our house for us." And I said, "Are you being serious?" And they were like, "Yeah, just bring whatever stuff you have, and you can just stay here, and we'll work it out when you come back."
Damn.
And then while that's going on, and this is the thing I've told other men who have gone through divorces, is that like, I get that you're hurt. Who do you want to be when the dust settles?
Yeah. Because it's got to settle.
Because like, look, I
Always.
remember thinking that I wanted to yell, scream, "I can't believe you're doing this to me," and all this other nonsense.
Yeah.
And the reality is that like, look, it's, you know, obviously, yes, I'm hurt, but like, do I want to create a situation because of this that like we can't even exist in a room together?
Mm.
You know, because even if there was a chance down the road, not to say that there never was, or, you know, whatever the case, but if that were, you know, an opportunity,
Yeah.
like, who do you want to be when the dust settles? Like, if you have kids, who do you want to be able to have gatherings, or is it always going to be like a divide?
Mm-hmm.
You know, who do you want to be afterwards? So like after that, like I didn't date for like 6 months. And I tell like other dudes that like, yo, the first 90 days, I literally, I journaled every day. I was watching videos on divorce, why divorces happen, the communication as to why divorces happen.
You studied it.
1,000%, because I didn't want to make the same mistake twice. Plus, I didn't want to not, like, I was in so much pain that I knew that was the time to do the work, not wait till, go looking for something else to numb the pain.
Yeah.
Like, I need to do the work while I'm in it, because I want to identify why I do what I do. Why did I, how did we get to where we are?
Yeah.
And then not recreate that in another relationship, because it's real easy to go from person to person, maybe a different name, but same face or, same person.
Yeah, we mimic those behaviors.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And did that the first 90 days. And then funny enough, I told a dude this the other night when I seen him, because he's going through a breakup. I said, after all that, the last thing I did, and it was the hardest thing I had to do, I wrote a goodbye letter. Like, I put all of our stuff, I bought a box. It's a memory box. I still have it. It's in my garage. It's a memory box that has all of our stuff from our wedding, all of it. And I remember being at the kitchen table and writing this goodbye letter and just bawling. Bawling. I mean, tears just coming down. And then putting that in there and then just putting it up. And like, I dealt with that part of my life. So it didn't haunt me.
Yeah.
I watch other men that might not want to do the work in that moment, but then it's still haunting them in their other relationships.
Yeah.
They're
carrying it with them.
Yeah.
That's a great story, man, because I think, my story, we ended up getting back together.
Yeah.
And I almost don't like telling a lot of people because that's not the reality. I would say at least 75 to 90% of the time. Yeah. Now, granted, I was still using, she was, so it's a different situation, but I think the same thing occurred for me, right? When I fucking had to come, when I finally got clean, is I had to come to terms with, like, she's gone.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason we're back and doing as well, better than we were is because I loved her enough to, like, let her do her thing and co-parent. She had a boyfriend, and I just talked about this. And the other thing is, like, my ego, or normally me, I got to alpha this guy,
absolutely,
piece of, like, oh, okay, he's fucking dork, all these things that go through my mind, and I had a sponsor who said, "Was he good to you? Or was he good to your kid? Is he good to your kid?"
Yeah,
so good to my kid.
Right.
So why do you want to be mean? Why do you want to bully him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're a bully. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
And what that showed my wife is maturity, or my ex-wife at the time, maturity and all these different things. But I go back to the point of this is, like, I had to let her go and do what she wanted if I really cared about her.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, what she saw most is I when I moved back to New York, when she asked me to come be a co-parent, I did the right thing. I treated her. I shook his hand. Maybe I gave him a little firmer. You know what I mean? Like,
a little twist.
Yeah, a little, like, look
hey,
at
how are you?
Yeah.
Right.
How would you do? Look at me in my Nah, but to this day, if I saw him, I great guy. And but I think that speaks volumes, right?
100%.
Of where I was from where I was in the past.
Yeah, the growth.
And then it ended up working out, and now, and we have a child too. I don't know that we would have even gotten that far as far as getting back together, because we started co-parenting and doing things together.
Yeah.
So the child had a big thing to do with it, but I know that it all started with just, I don't need her. She doesn't want to be with me. I don't need her. Like, if that's how I think I have to be okay, I'm never going to be okay.
Right.
So
yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Relationships take work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like
a lot
job.
of perspective.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to, like I said, like, at that time of my recovery, like, I was running around sharing at conventions and sponsoring all these dudes, hitting meetings all the time. And, like, the 12-step talks about, I could quote it if we weren't doing this right now.
Of course. Yeah.
Right. But, like, still helping the addict who still suffers. And what's funny is that I was being of service, helping all these people, but wasn't spending time with the person that was suffering at home.
Yeah.
And having to learn how to be present. Like, there's times now where people ask me to do things and I'm like, yo, it just doesn't align with the schedule right now.
Right.
People ask me to, like, commitments and stuff like that. And, like, sometimes I can't. Yeah. And, like, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm missing anything today, because there were a lot of times where I was, like, chasing desire. you know, running from event to event, whatever the case was, just wanted to fix a feeling with the feeling. Didn't even know it because I was justifying it that it was recovery based. And then, you know, you find yourself in a situation where now you have this child and you have this relationship, and then you guys are doing things and creating these moments. And then you realize the whole time you were chasing desire and still felt empty is because the whole time really what you wanted was fulfillment.
Yeah.
But fulfillment takes work. It's not instant gratification. It's instant gratification because it's instant because it doesn't last.
Yeah.
Fulfillment takes work. Relationships are built, they're not found. You know? So in building a relationship, the fulfillment that comes along with it when you can share these memories, like, you know, when you have your friends and you look back at the pictures of vacations that you've either taken with them because you've known them long enough to have that kind of relationship that they'll take a vacation with you.
Right.
You know, you're not some stranger danger like,
Yeah.
I mean, we could maybe, I don't know, you know.
Let me see.
Not
I'll get
everybody's
back to
travel,
you on
know,
that.
not everybody has the ability to travel, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you for coming,
appreciate
man.
you
This was
having me out.
awesome. You know,
Yeah, I
like we
told
just
you.
got
Yeah.
started, and I think this is probably the best one we've
You're
done.
our first male guest,
Okay.
so
Yeah,
you,
you're our first
you
male
knocked it
guest.
out the park for
Yeah,
us.
this was really good. I want to ask you one question. What was the best piece of advice you received in early recovery that you think might help somebody?
The best piece of advice. If you stick to the basics, you don't have to go back.
I like that.
You know?
You
Like
stick to
all
the
that stuff
basics.
still makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, meetings still make sense. Sponsorship makes sense. Doing step work still makes sense. All the stuff I did when I had a hot, 15, 20, 30 days clean,
Mm-hmm.
I still do today. Step work, it still makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just did another 6-step the other day.
Yeah. 21 years clean. Yeah.
It's dope.
That's so dope.
You know what I mean?
Must
The
work.
basics.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep
Yeah.
it simple.
Keep it simple. Stick to the basics. Thanks for joining us, guys. If you would like to give us a follow, you know, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, join the Mindful Movement community on Facebook, or, you know, give us a follow or subscribe on YouTube. It'd be greatly appreciated, and it would give you guys the opportunity to keep up to date, you know, on what we have going on and current episodes.
And share with anyone you think might help.
Absolutely.